91.7 FM WCUR Westchester.
Hey guys, this is The Greed on 91.7 FM WCUR The Curve. My name's Danaé, and I'm you guys' host for the next week. Today I have with me my special guest. His name's Chad. He's going to introduce himself really quick, and then I'll get into the weather and the announcement for the week.
What should I say about myself? My name is Chad. I'm a film director, and I live in New York. And I'm today's special guest.
What do you like to do? What inspires you? Some background.
Well, I basically just said it. What I like to do. It's just that it's also what I want my occupation to be. I'm a film director. I like watching movies. I like writing scripts. I like making movies. And that's what I want to do for the rest of my life. What inspires me? A lot, actually. People, talking to people, conversations, and then having that general understanding that everybody has a purpose. Houses, I love architecture. Paintings, I suppose, only when I'm looking for film, though. So it doesn't really inspire me in my real life. It more so just inspires me in my artistic life. And just movies inspire me, I guess. It's not that's my whole life, but it's definitely become a major part. Good music inspires me.
Cool.
Cool.
Okay. So, guys, as you know, every week you have to do some house cleaning. So, like I said, I'm going to read you guys an announcement for the week and the weather for the next week, too. How are real hope, love, and courage not just possible but necessary for taking steps to end racism? On March 9th in Sykes Ballroom A from 2 to 3 p.m., Dr. Love will provide new ways of thinking about connecting with ourselves and each other within and across racial identities and experiences. In this seminar, she encourages students to question concrete strategies and social contracts in order to build a racially conscious and more connected campus community. For more information, contact Dr. Ellie Brown at ebrown@wcupa.edu. That sounds really fun. Okay, and for the next week, the weather is pretty stable, I guess, for the most part. It's not like this week where the weather's been kind of high and low. But tomorrow, Thursday, March 9th, is sunny with a high of 56 and a low of, a high of 58 and a low of 36. Friday, March 10th, is snow in the morning, high of 41, low of 18. Saturday, March 18th, is partly cloudy with a high of 31, a low of 15. Sunday, March 12th, is partly cloudy with a high of 36 and a low of 16. Monday, March 13th, my little cousin's birthday, is mostly cloudy with a high of 40 and a low of 27. Next Tuesday, March 14th, is a wintry mix with a high of 39 and a low of 23. And next Wednesday, March 15th, a week from today, is mostly sunny with a high of 34 and a low of 17. So for anybody who's just tuning into the show, I have a guest here. His name's Chad. I just read an event for this week, and I just did the weather. So if you missed that, I'm sorry, but this is The Greed on 91.7 FM WCUR The Curve. And today we're going to just talk to my guest a little bit about how he got into what he's into, and just, I guess, learn a little more about Chad. I already know pretty much about him, everything about him, but you guys don't, so that should be fun. So I know. Okay, so Chad, how did you realize that you wanted to get into film?
Oh my God, is the preliminary question to every conversation I've ever had over the past 3 years. I suppose my interest kind of grew differently than how I usually hear it it happens. I know everybody has their own story, but I started like writing when I was about 6 or 7, and I would misspell every single word, and I would start using my dad's laptop and just printing out like pages with one sentence on them, so I was wasting a lot of paper, and I would just draw things about like Batman or just things I liked, and that never really turned into anything. And fast forward to high school, I started getting into photography, and I started taking still images of a lot of things. I started taking still images of my backyard, and then into people, and then for a while I thought I wanted to be a fashion photographer, but I got very bored. With the idea of a still image, and it just wasn't doing it for me anymore as far as telling a story is concerned. And I got that inkling, that feeling to tell stories again. I suppose I started writing again in high school. I started writing like little poems and short stories. I wrote Danaé a couple poems in high school.
Yes, he did.
And then so I didn't know I liked movies as much as I did, because I've always watched movies, but I just appreciated it for entertainment. But around my second year of high school was when I started realizing that that's kind of the area of art I wanted to lean towards, because I knew I wanted to pursue a career in the arts, but I had no idea what I wanted to do. Even when I got to college, I thought maybe I would transfer and become a design student. I made this like logo for this clothing line that I never picked up, thank God.
What's that supposed to mean?
No, I mean, I love the logo. It's just that
I was about to say.
but it's just that, I mean, those kind of things are so would really distract me from what I do now.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't have been happy, one, because I can't draw, right? I suck at drawing. I think the only reason I've thought about design is because of my understanding of color. But the question, how did I get into movies? It really just grew over time. It kind of manifested itself in my life. It kind of became a pattern, like everything else happens to us. It became this pattern, like, oh, now you're into cinema, and yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm into cinema.
Okay. So on average, how many movies do you think you watch a week?
I watch at least one movie every night.
Uh-huh. At least one.
Yeah. I mean, most nights it's one. Like on a school, like if I have class the next day, it's usually one. But sometimes I get to watch a movie in the afternoon after classes. Sometimes, like when I have like a 12 to 3 class, I'll go home. I'll stop by the film library at my school, and then I'll pick something up and watch something right after class. Then I'll take a nap, and then if I don't have any work, I'll watch something late at night. Lately, because I've been working on a film myself, I don't get to. Oh, was I not supposed to say that?
You just completely. Okay, go ahead.
Well, lately I haven't really been able to watch as many movies as I'd liked, but I've been rewatching scenes that I really love just because I can't really stay away. But okay, yeah.
So I don't know how I want to ask this question. So like, what about what type of movie do you most like appreciate? If that makes does that make sense? Sorry.
Yeah. No, I mean that's a question. That's a question. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. It's funny for me because talking earlier, I mentioned that like 2 minutes ago I mentioned patterns in our lives, and something that has always come up for me was that Japanese culture. I've always been interested in anime, and I read manga when I was younger, but it really fell off for me because you're reading a book backwards, and that just throws me off so much. I realized that the American cinema is more so plot driven, but the kind of scripts that I write and what I'm into are these character driven movies that are really about the people, and I've always been into that. So it was, and that's an Asian thing. So it's funny that kind of came back into my life when I started studying like the structure of how movies are actually made and what they are and what cultural influence have on what specific movies. So I like character-driven movies. I like romances. I like dramas. But I can watch a thriller. I can watch a comedy. I actually love comedy, but not like bro comedy, you know, not like.
What's bro comedy?
Like Zac Efron.
Oh, okay.
You know, I really appreciate Seth Rogen's writing, but I can't stand Channing Tatum.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's really it. I mean, I could watch any kind of movie, but those are really the genres that I lean towards.
Mm-hmm. So, knowing that, well, it's to my understanding that the industry you want to go into is like predominantly like white men. So, like choosing, well, I guess we're all pretty much, if you're a minority, choosing fields that are dominantly white. But how do you feel like going into a field? Like, does that make you nervous? Or do you think about it at all?
I do think about it, but not in it's kind of strange because being in a creative medium, in 2017, I've started to think of it more so as an advantage, not because, they're going to hire me because I'm black, but because I want to be a director and I have this opportunity to be socially conscious with my films, not as far as pushing movies about diversity, but just pushing movies that naturally have diversity and are naturally inclusive. That's what people are looking for. So I see it as an advantage, and I want to tell the stories that I tell. I mean, anybody can be these characters, but they're usually casted by different people. I'd feel irresponsible right now as a young director casting an all-white cast. That's just beyond the pale for me. I don't understand why I do that, or anybody in my position would do that. But I don't get nervous about it as much as, I don't think anybody in my position gets nervous about it as much as people think we would. As an artist, I think people understand that culture is a very mixed thing, you know. Mm-hmm. Not to say that it's not scary, but going into Hollywood, period, is scary. So
yeah, and that actually leads me to my next question. So, do you want to go into Hollywood, or do you want to be like more independent, or how do you see your future in film? Like, what does that look like?
Well, the independent film doesn't really exist anymore. There is the independent film, but they're still funded by studios. I like New York, but it definitely grows monotonous and dry, and I think to produce the kind of movies that I would love to produce, I would have to work in Hollywood. I mean, if you're working in cinema, you're working in Hollywood. If you're making feature films or short films, you're working in Hollywood. But the real question is, where are you based? Yeah. The real question is, where are you based, so you can make specific moves for specific jobs. If I'm in LA, it's a lot easier for me to just be like, I'll grab this job. If I'm in New York, then it's still quite attainable, but there are a lot more plans you have to make in advance.
Okay, cool.
And networking would be quite difficult.
So who do you, like, is there, how do I say this? So is there any actor like that you really respect? Or if you had to take one, like, I don't know, really famous actor and put them in your film, who would it be and why?
Actor?
Or actress, or both, or...
I haven't thought about actors in such a long time. Probably... You know what? I can't say so. I think right now, or I guess of all time, it'd probably have to be Samuel L. Jackson, just because of the diversity of roles he does, and he works on Broadway. But wow, no, I guess I don't really have a favorite actor or actress. Actresses I really love: Scarlett Johansson. Right now, these are current actresses. Scarlett Johansson. That's really it.
Why?
I love her. I appreciate her so much. She plays very diverse roles. We don't have a lot of actors like that anymore. People who used to be like that, like Jim Carrey. Denzel's pretty diverse, but sometimes he gets the same roles all the time. Viola Davis is pretty diverse with her roles. She can play a lot of different roles. She's also just a great actress. Mahershala Ali, I love him. I didn't think of him. He's the one that's in. He had a really big year. He was in Moonlight and Luke Cage and Hidden Figures. He started on House of Cards. He had a pretty big year, so he just won the Oscar.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I'm very proud of him. He's the first Muslim to win an Oscar. It was really cool.
Really?
Yeah, ever. Yeah.
How long have the Oscars been?
Or the first Muslim to win the support in acting Oscar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm sure, you know a whole bunch of, well, I know you, I'm not going to say that, but I'm sure you know, like, a whole bunch of people who think that doing what you do, or, like, photography or anything like that is super easy, or that, pretty much, you know, so what do you think about that, with this whole thing that's going on lately?
I think this is definitely something that we talk about all the time, not you and me, but, like, in my department. Not you and I, but in my department, this push that consumerism is the same as professional film. So this idea that everybody now can be a filmmaker with their phones. And on one hand, I agree, everybody can make a video with their phone. Everyone can record something and stage things, but there's a very specific craft of filmmaking that, even technically speaking, that iPhones or any kind of consumer gadget can't do, and that's not even talking about the actual craft and the ideas and the breakdowns of filmmaking. So it's funny, especially on the internet, seeing not only just random people that you know, right? People that you're close to, call themselves things, and I mean, it's cool. Like, whatever, do you? But act like what they're doing is the same as what I don't want to say actual filmmakers, but actual filmmakers do, and what real photographers do. There's this movement in New York right now for photography, and it's strange. It's like paparazzi styled photography on 35 millimeter cameras, and people are now like passing it off as like art, as like these staged photos, but really these are like vacation family style photos of famous people, your rapper friends backstage, and it's very annoying almost, right? It's strange, but it's hard to talk about this and not sound pretentious, so now I'm just gonna say that whatever, everybody should just keep doing what they're doing.
Cool. Okay, guys, so I'm going to play a quick PSA, and then we'll get back to talking to Chad. But for right now, this is The Greed on 91.7 FM WCUR The Curve, and we will be back in just a second. hopefully. Yep. All right, be right back.
Boo, smile.
Smile, buddy.
Come on, smile. Oh, honey, he's still not smiling.
Maybe he's not a smiler.
Yeah, maybe he's just not a happy baby.
Maybe he's just being a boy. You know how boys are.
Or maybe he's teething. Oh, poor baby. I think his gums hurt.
Maybe he's just tired.
Or maybe his tummy hurts. He didn't eat that much.
Maybe he's not ticklish.
You think maybe he's scared of the dog?
Maybe he'll outgrow it. Maybe it's a phase. Maybe he just doesn't like smiling.
Maybe he has autism, and we can definitely do something to help.
Maybe is all you need to find out more about autism. No big, joyful smiles by 6 months is one early sign. Learn the others at autismspeaks.org/signs or see a doctor today for an autism screening. The sooner it's diagnosed, the better. And it can make a lifetime of difference. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Hungry for change? Well, you're in the right place because this is The Greed on 91.7 FM WCUR The Curve. I'm Danae, and if you guys are just now tuning in, I have my co-host Chad here with me, who's a filmmaker, and he lives in New York and just happens to be my boyfriend, and he's here.
Fireworks.
And he's here this week talking about himself because that's what he does best. But anyway, so we're gonna
How pleasing.
We're gonna get back into what we were just talking about, and essentially what we were talking about is film. So, what goes into filmmaking? Like, can you break that process down for us? And like,
probably not. I mean, it's a lot.
If I gave you like a minute, like, what would you say about filmmaking in a minute?
In the basic sense, I mean, we collect ideas, we write them down, we create images because film is a visual medium, is a visual art form, but then we add sound and text and feeling really to film to really flesh it out, and I think it becomes a total experience. It becomes a very surreal experience, and we just create experiences for people and tell stories and really just try to give people hope. I think that's a hard question to answer, like, just because, I don't know.
So when you're writing your films, do you think of, because I know like a couple minutes ago, or probably like 10 minutes ago, we talked about race and characters. So do you ascribe characters race when you're writing them in, or how does that process work out?
It depends. For the film I'm working on right now, I didn't, but I had somebody in mind. But sometimes if you've seen that movie Monsters Ball, right? I know you haven't, but it takes place in the South, and it's about a white guy raised by a racist falling in love with Halle Berry. So obviously you cast a black woman and Billy Bob Thornton, right, as a white guy. So you already have that in mind if that's what the story is about, right? So if it's important to the story, if the race is core to the story, like, then yeah, I mean, you do write African American or something like that. So yeah, sometimes, to answer your question.
Okay. So has there ever been, because I know this is the film that you're working on right now, and we'll get into that in a second. I know this film is the first one that you've been working on, so has there ever been a time where you may have had a particular race in mind for a character, and then somebody came in and auditioned that wasn't that race and just kind of blew you away?
Yeah, I guess. For my first short film that I made when I got to school was called Friendly Revelations, and it's not that I had something, I guess it's not that I had something specifically in mind, but you always envision somebody or something, and I had a role for a character named Mickey, and I envisioned a white girl, right? and this Latino girl named Christina Noya came in and blew me away as far as I could be blown away, because I knew nothing about auditioning people. I just knew I had to do it. But she was the perfect embodiment of the character, and I casted her, and it because it had no bearing on the story whatsoever.
Okay. So since you keep bringing up this project that you're working on, can you just tell my listeners a little bit about what it's about?
How can I not? What's it about? It's funny. It's kind of about a lot of things. I think I just had this conversation with my mom.
But if you had to say it was like a DVD. Say it came out on DVD.
There's a premise. Yeah. I mean, I know this. I probably have said this like so many times. I'm sorry. I'm just saying, like, I've said it so many. The premise of the film, it's a film really about people who protect their feelings in reality. So how we experience things individually, and even though we have a common understanding, we can't express that. People have trouble expressing themselves. And as far as a plot premise is concerned, it's about a young filmmaker who he questions really the purpose of self-expression as he experiences these memories of heartbreak with somebody. But it wasn't a romance. As far as I'm concerned, on surface level, it wasn't a romance. And now I'm giving stuff away, so I'll shut up.
I was about to say, whoa, you're about to get me kicked off the radio. Okay, so you mentioned earlier that you kind of got into, like anime and photography and writing and stuff at a young age. So what was that like for you growing up around people who weren't necessarily interested in the same thing?
Lonely. I don't know. There was always something, I guess, about not wanting to be around like other people when I looked at like those kind of things, because all of my friends like played basketball and stuff, and I mean I love basketball still. Like I still play basketball, and like people think that's unbelievable, and like I go play and like I look like Prince on the Dave Chappelle show and just dunking on pizza. But it's kind of challenging, but at the same time, it's gonna pass, and it's just like any other trial in life, I suppose. It's just keep on pushing and stay true to yourself. And I know that sounds so cliche, but it's really the hardest thing to do. So keep pushing and stay true to yourself.
So have you ever wondered, like, why, because you're interested in those type of things, people, like you said, for basketball, people are super surprised when they find out that you like basketball. Do you ever, like, wonder about those things, or does stuff like that frustrate you, that people kind of, like, separate you from things like that?
Well, from experience, and from other people's experience, when you're black and you are into art, you're automatically gay. And that has followed me forever, and it's hard because I don't like, in high school I would never, I promised myself I wouldn't quote unquote defend myself if those kind of accusations came my way, because that's not something to be ashamed of, and I didn't want to say that came my way in public. And there is somebody who is gay watching, and I get angry and I defend myself. I wouldn't be able to live with myself, because then they'd be very upset. So that's the difficulty, is that people automatically assume you're something, right? And that's just not just for this, it's for anybody. People always automatically assume. But once again, you just gotta stay true to yourself. There's not much to life.
So So when people constantly put you in these categories, does it ever make you feel like you wish you were a different way, or has it ever made you feel like you were a different way, or that you weren't interested in the things that you were interested in? Because like I know that's something like a lot of people struggle with when they're when they identify a certain way and people are telling them that they're not that.
It's strange because for me, no. But I understand why people feel that way. See, I'm very obsessive, for lack of a better word. I definitely like to romanticize and dramatize a lot of things.
Yeah, everything in your life.
Yeah, a lot of very regular things, and I mean I loved what I liked in discovering these things in these genres that I appreciated. I loved how it made me feel inside, and that was a very great feeling, It made me feel whole, and soft and warm and all those gushy feelings. So I never wanted to get away from that. I always loved that feeling, and I always appreciated that vibe. So no, I never had that kind of issue. What it really was for me was the fact that people think, oh, now you can't be something else. So like I said before, like I can't be all of a sudden, like I can't be into sports. Like all of a sudden, like I can't be a whole person, right? It's either something or something else. And that was always my challenge when it came to other people. But I think a lot of people struggle with not knowing what they like, and that's why they get away from themselves. For me, I've always known what I was interested in, and even when people said they were weird, even when people said it was weird, as cliche as this sounds, again, I kind of encouraged that because my mom always told me it was okay to be different, and whatever, that's all I know. So yeah.
All right, thanks, Chad. So we're actually about to get into the 3 required songs that I have to play. And I know people don't typically like them, so I'm sorry, but I have to play them. So we're going to get into that, and then we'll be right back in a couple seconds. But before I do that, I just want to thank Chad for being on my show today. We still have about 30 minutes.
Big clap, round of applause.
We still have about like 30 minutes left to the show. So I hope you guys are enjoying thus far, and if anybody wants to call in, which nobody ever does, the number is 610-436-2478. And here are the songs that I have to play.
You took the train. You wondered why people spend so much.
Sorry, y'all. There we go.
Yourself. Do you act just like you Be soft, be shy, read a book and learn to cook. Be nice, be dumb, clean the floors and wash your pores. Be light, be small, wear a dress below your knees, not less. Be insecure, be a wife, cater to one man for the rest of your life.
Hey guys, this is Agreed on 91.7 FM WCUR The Curve. The songs that I just played are Ladylike, it's not hashtag, it's a slash. What a BITCH, Clean. And I played A Typical Day Before and Villain, all by The Regrets. If anybody's just now tuning in, like I said, this is Agreed on 91.7 FM WCUR The Curve. I'm your I'm the host for the next hour, the next 13 minutes, right? 23 minutes, sorry, my math is so wrong today. I'm you guys' hosts for the next 23 minutes, and I have with me my guest. His name's Chad, and he's here talking about what it's like to be in film and a little bit about himself. So we cover topics like, does he, think about race when he writes his scripts. We talked about something that he has coming up, a project that he has coming up soon. We talked about some actors he admires, which he gave a couple, and just things like that, what he wants to do with his career. So we're going to continue to talk to Chad for the next 22 minutes. And, yeah. So, Chad. Is there any director that you really look up to, do you think? Oh, sorry, I forgot to turn his mic back on. That wasn't on purpose.
Alas.
So you said it again.
Well, this time it was for the microphone. I have a list of directors that I love. Wong Kar-wai, who's from Hong Kong. Woody Allen, Spike Lee, Agnes Varda, Jean-Luc Godard. That's really like, did I name 5? That's like,
I think it was either 4 or 5, yeah.
That's definitely my top 5. I think Woody Allen and Spike Lee are the only American directors on there.
So you like foreign films?
I love foreign films.
Do the subtitles not ever bother you? I can't watch a movie with subtitles.
Well, I've been watching anime since like forever.
Oh, we're getting a phone call. I just need to figure out how to turn on the phone.
Good Lord, they want to talk to me.
Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Hello?
Oh, am I live?
Yes, you are live.
Hi, Chad. Hi, Danae.
Hi, who is this?
Mom, and I just had a quick question for Chad. I'm really appreciating the interview, and I just wanted to know, for the work that you've already done, is there a website or some avenue that we could take to view your work?
Yeah, I have a website. It's a portfolio website and also a contact website if anybody wants to hire me. Supermeiko.com. That's SUPERMEIKO.com. My entire portfolio, really, my small portfolio is on there, really. There's about 4 or 5 or 6 films on there. Some are documentary, music video, narrative, experimental, and soundtracks, because I like to do music work as well. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you. Keep up the good work, guys.
Bye, Mom.
Bye.
So that was my mom.
Lovely.
Very supportive. Shout out to you, Danae. But okay, Chad, so what is it about foreign films that you really like? And how are they different from American films?
I think every country or every cultural region has its own identity when it comes to film. I mentioned my love for Asian films, and they are very character-driven as opposed to the plot-driven American drama.
So you like character development rather than plot development, or both?
I mean, it's not like the movies have no plot, but there's so many.
But I'm saying, like, which do you like more?
I like. Well, all movies have plot development. All good movies, anyway, have plot development. But how the plot develops in Asian films or other foreign areas is that the plot kind of develops based on the character, so the plot kind of develops in a web. As for American films, traditionally, even if it's a circular development of a plot, it's still a straight line pretty much. So even if the timeline of the film jumps back and forth, it's still a straight line. And there's like one main character. But I like Asian films. I like French New Wave films, which is the 60s and 70s. So I mentioned Jean-Luc Godard is one of my favorite directors.
How do you remember all these names?
Because they're my favorite directors. I only named like 5 people. I could name a lot more, but I don't like a lot more. I mean, I like Tarantino and Anderson, but everybody likes them. Jean-Luc Godard, he's still alive. He made all the films that I like by him. He made in the 60s. He actually made my favorite film called Contempt, which, if any, for all y'all listeners, you should definitely check it out.
Where could they find that? Is it on Netflix?
I mean, it's definitely not on Netflix. You definitely have to watch it either illegally for free or pay for it. But it's probably one of the most famous French films of all time.
Mm-hmm. So, okay.
What other? I'm just trying to think of any other cultural regions that I like. I mean, I like Indian films, but not Bollywood is kind of too musical for me. But there are some Indian films that I really like, and Ingmar Bergman. I forgot to mention him. He's from Sweden. I love his films. Very character driven. So.
Okay. I feel like I keep. No, I won't ask that question until later. So what are some, if any, drawbacks of being a film student? Or going to film school, period?
You're extremely unsure of your future, and it kind of dawns on you really fast. I guess this is art school in general, but cinema is such a huge industry, especially in America. And if you don't stand out, or if you're going to school to be a director and you don't stand out, then that's the scariest expletive you will ever experience. Because there's a lot of doubt, and I mean you're in debt because these schools are expensive, and film is definitely not something that you're gonna automatically make your money back on. And I mean, if you're going to school to be I don't know, like a boom operator, you're probably constantly thinking, why are you in school?
What's a
It's
boom
like the guy that
operator?
holds the microphone.
Okay. People go to school for that?
No, but people wind up doing that after they go to school because it's a job and they want to take any job.
Understandable. So, being that art school is a risk, do you think you're what am I trying to say? Do you think did you have any reservations about going to art school, and did your mom have any reservations about you going to art school just because of the uncertainty of it?
I knew I wanted to go to art school. I applied to and got into, I believe, 4 art schools and then 3 state schools. My mom is very supportive. She's always been extremely supportive, probably the most supportive person I've ever met. And sometimes I can feel her doubt and the fake support, but it's still encouraging that it's she's still surface level supportive, even though she's scared as anything. She's just as scared as I am, but she's in it with me. So it's kind of cool. That's a nice feeling. Mm-hmm. So no, I never felt that doubt because I knew what I wanted to do, right? We talked about that already. I knew what I wanted to do. So it was about picking the school that best sufficed that need to do what I wanted to do. And a state school is not a good film school, except USC. So, yeah.
Okay. So I know me and you have had this conversation a couple times before, but how because I know we've had the conversation of sometimes you feeling like you don't really need to be going to school to do what you want to do. So why do those feelings come about? What I'm trying to say is, why do you feel you know what I'm trying to say?
You asked the question already, yeah.
Yeah, so okay, go ahead. Sorry it's staticky, guys. I don't know what's going on right now.
Those feelings definitely surface from, I think it might be me.
Are you leaning? Yeah, that should be better.
Those feelings definitely surface from being online and everybody saying it, 1. 2, you're at a film school and your teachers are saying it. That's very unencouraging or discouraging. There's literally a forum online called nofilmschool.com, and you can learn so much. One of the textbooks I was required to read starts with, you can literally learn everything you learn in film school in 2 weeks and be okay.
So then what makes you want to keep going?
Well, my school it depends what school you go to, because my school specifically, I love SVA.
Yeah, you never told them what school you go to. You never told them what school you go to.
Oh, I go to the School of Visual Arts in New York. And one of the things I love about SVA is that not only it's already cool enough that it's a very hands-on school, because a lot of film schools aren't, and the technology's up to date enough for a film school, but we really learned the craft of storytelling. My classes are pretty adept. I had a directing actors class last semester, and I know that doesn't seem like a big deal, but there's specific language that you use with specific people who are specific members of your team, and SVA is really good at doing that. And also, I mean, just the experience of being a student is still very important to me. I like being a student. I'll always be a student. Even after I graduate, I'll just be making money after this, hopefully. So.
Okay. So, looking back at the films that you did when you were first getting started, what do you think about those? Like, do you ever look back at your old films, or are you one of those type of people who doesn't like to look at your work, or do you like to look at it a lot? Because I know some people, after they're done with stuff, they just don't want to look at it. So what does that look like for you? I'm
a very hot and cold person. I know I made like a plug for my website like 20 minutes ago, or 15 or 10 minutes ago. But excuse me. But sometimes I do hate it. Or sometimes I do hate them just because because I mean you made this work, or I made this work before I knew what I know now, right? No matter what, it could be a week later, and it's like, oh, I wish I did that differently. And sometimes I do hate it, but I think something I've learned to accept is that student films for me have been a lesson, and I have been able to watch my progression as I go, which is very valuable to me. And that's why, I mean, this project that I'm working on now is the most ambitious thing ever for me so far. And yeah, I mean, everything's a lesson. So how many rewrites would you say that you do for your scripts before you have a film come out, and who do you run those changes by? Not only do I do a million rewrites, but I hate rewriting. It's the worst part about script writing. It's the worst part about the filmmaking process. I'm so tired of it. The reason I'm really going at it right now is because I'm in the middle of it right now. I usually who I run it by, usually my actors, really, because they're the only people that matter right now. I might run it by a professor, but not really, because I usually just run the first draft by a professor just so I can understand that how the structure of my film is really going. But rewriting is definitely just a collaborative process between me and my actors for the most part. Okay, cool. So I had a brain fart, guys. I don't remember what I was gonna say. Okay, cool. So, Chad, if you had to give any advice to your younger self, what would it be? Wow, I'm really young, so answering that question makes me feel hopelessly old. This is gone quite depressing. To just expand more. I know I've never been afraid of that, but there's always an opportunity for more and more growth. Read more, darn it. I started reading in high school. That's very late. Or reading for fun anyway in high school. It's extremely late, and I wish I had read more earlier in life, especially now that I write. Now, I mean, reading is fun sometimes, so read more.
Okay. So do you see any parallels now in your life that you experienced growing up? Do you feel like everything's starting to come full circle, or how is that?
Not full circle. I mean, I definitely, like everybody else, I definitely can piece out the patterns in life. Sometimes it's just even a word is constantly thrown around all of a sudden. No, I don't think things have like come full circle, but I mean, I'm I turn 20 later this month. I have a really long way to go, hopefully. And as far as like my filmmaking is concerned, I'm just getting started, which is a very cool feeling, I'm really just now about to put my work out. So I mean, maybe I like lapped my little inner circle, but I'm about to make like a really big circle, so geometry,
Okay, so is there any songs that you play that motivate you, or do you listen to your music when you're writing, or like, what is like the writing process outside of the actual writing look like?
It depends where I'm at. Sometimes I go on YouTube and there's these lo-fi vaporwave hip-hop mixes that I like to listen to. Vaporwave is amazing. YouTube is amazing. Sometimes I listen to Dave Pike, who is a marimba player. I probably pronounced that wrong, but he makes amazing jazz. He has an album called Jazz for the Jet Set that I refer to very often. I don't listen to my own music when I write, but if I'm writing and something is playing in my head, I definitely ditch my laptop for the keyboard. The writing process, thinking of things while you're supposed to be asleep and waking up because you don't want to forget them. So this has definitely ruined my sleep. I've definitely had a constant headache for about 3 or 4 weeks, which is pretty good considering I've been I've been working on this film since December. Yeah, that's the writing process. There's no like way.
No, I meant like I was asking you what the writing process looks like, but taking out the writing part of
No,
it.
yeah, like sometimes it's just like a headache. Sometimes it's just like sometimes I do listen to music. Other times I can't stand any other kind of noise,
I thought it was just
and it sucks when you live with other people. Sometimes you need to go for a walk. It's a very responsive thing, you feel like something's the right thing to do and you do it to help you or to motivate you or to just get those creative juices flowing. So
So when you do the rewrites of your scripts, does it end up changing the whole entire thing typically, or is it just little things that you work with, like changing the wording or changing like a direction that you have in there? Like, how does that work?
No, it's actually kind of in the middle, because those kind of little things, I for me personally at least, and a lot of younger filmmakers aren't like this, but I watch so many interviews and everybody kind of says the same thing, so I kind of try to follow in those footsteps. For me personally, those kind of little things that's acting, and I'm not gonna do somebody else's job. I'm gonna work with them, but I'm not gonna do their job. So those kind of things, I don't even bother, because the script is just an outline or a blueprint. Structurally concerned, it doesn't usually. It depends. Sometimes it does change a huge plot, a huge plot point, or it can really shift the premise of the story. So you have to be careful.